Are you looking to get started racing in Zwift? Or maybe you're already racing and are looking to step it up or play the game of Zwift a bit more effectively. Because let's remember, it is a game at its core. No matter what you're looking for out of Zwift and racing, we're kicking off Zwift tips by diving into a multi-part mini-series. From picking your event, getting prepped for the race, and then gunning for the win. So you finished the race, but that's not where things end. You did the homework to do your best in the race. Why wouldn't you use the same logic after the dust is settled from the race? So what's in today's episode? We'll cover what you should do when it comes to analyzing and breaking down your race. You studied before the big test. Now it's time to review and prep for the next one. Let's be honest. You're hooked, aren't you? Let's dive in and see how you do. Let's jump right into tip 1. Review the final screen. After your typical rides, you might skim right by the screens that pop up when you're exiting your Zwift session, but once the race is over, you absolutely don't want to skip right by these, as there's so much information to take away from this. The first screen that pops up before you click End Ride is good for a quick look at how you did without diving too deep. If the race felt hard and you see you've managed to snag a new best power for any of the 4 types, you know you've made progress. Even more important though is the screen right after you press End Ride. Here you can see your average watts, calories burned, power, heart rate distribution, basically a quick snapshot into the race and how it went. This is useful information to either show why a race was hard or how you suffered. On this page is also the TSS score. We'll cover that more in the next episode though. The final screen, Critical Power, is the last screen of the lot where we can glean some more information. This shows you your power curve for the race and how it compares to your all-time best for every second, minute, and hour. Is your orange line above the gray line? Well, you set a new best. Is the whole orange line above the other? You might need to go lay down. Moving into the second tip, looking at Zwift Power. The next place to look is our old friend Zwift Power. Right after the race finishes, you should be able to log in and navigate to your profile to get the results for the race you just finished. From here, you can see a wealth of information that will help break down how you did both on an individual basis and against your competition. Zwift Power will also act as a bit more of an official result, as it will remove riders who didn't meet the requirements of the race. For example, people who are using Z Power, those without a heart rate monitor, and anyone who is racing in a category they shouldn't be. Some events will have other requirements, but those usually will be noted at the top. This will help present a bit more of a picture on how you did by showing you things you couldn't see during the race. For example, every other rider's statistics, like their heart rate and power. When you first see this, it might be an overabundance of data, but you'll get used to it, how to use it, and what is meaningful out of it. The main things you'll want to look at for now is how you did compared to any past results you have, as well as in comparison to other riders in your category. This will help put your performance in perspective. Did you feel like you were suffering? Maybe the other riders were putting out much more wattage than you. Jumping into the third tip, visualize. You might have heard this trick from high school or college sports, but believe me, it's helpful in the long run the better you get at it, especially if you don't have a recording or stream of the race to rewatch. When you've warmed down and rehydrated, play back the race in your head, as much of it as you can remember, and then let your mind first visualize things as it wants to. Sometimes it's a bit more perfect world than how it really went, but that's perfectly fine, as your mind might play things out better or worse than how it actually happened. It's exactly the kind of thing we want to analyze, because it helps you get to the bottom of your true performance and not just the sugar-coated way you remember. If you can focus on these aspects and think of exactly what happened, you can break down why your mind is considering it a win or a loss at that moment. The more you can think about it, the more you learn about where you were, right or wrong, and the more you can carry that experience to the next event. With that in mind, let's move on to tip 4. Note what you did well. Remember that we're our own worst enemy and you'll go far. Our mind will always nitpick places where we could have done better, or where we missed a move, or used too much power to trying to close this gap, or pushing for a sprint that wasn't needed. But that only helps us grow so much. With the race over, and after visualizing, think about and note what you've done well. Negative emotions and thoughts will always overpower positive. So you want to try to make sure you focus on the positives more than anything. Racing is just as much, if not more so, a mental battle over a physical battle. We tend to give up before we're actually reached our limits. With this in mind, if you keep the wins of the race at the forefront of your mind, this will be what you bring with you to your next race, and you can build on them. That doesn't mean we want to ignore the negatives, but those are learning experiences. And once we process them, we don't want to dwell on them. Jumping into the fifth and final tip for this video. Plan for your next race. So the first race is done and dusted. That's all, right? Wrong. Once you've had a taste of racing, no matter how it went, I can pretty much guarantee you'll want to come back for more. Racing is definitely a bug that once you get bitten by it, you'll keep coming back. No matter how rough or amazing of a race you have, you'll definitely come across days or stints where you think that it's it and you might think you're done. Give it time. This is where you start to plan for the next one, because there will be a next one. Maybe you had a great race and want to do over to see if you can replicate it, or maybe you want to try something polar opposite to what you did so you can see how you fare in different types of races. The sky is the limit, and you're in control. Take what you've learned, grow from it, and shoot for the stars in the next race. And that's it. You're ready to go. Till the next video in the series. There's so many facets to Zwift racing, and this is just a step in the process. Make sure to check out the next video, and hopefully I'll be able to keep shedding light on new parts of Zwift that you didn't know about. For now, my name's Generally Lost, and if you want to ask questions live or watch me race with my own advice, which never goes to plan, make sure to check me out on Twitch or Twitter. I stream 3 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain, and Saturday morning at 10 a.m.